Hi, welcome to the Bee's Business, or welcome back if you've been here before. Thank you for joining me in this video that's part of my children's literature review series. Through this series, I hope to help fellow educators and parents find titles in children's literature that are meaningful, inspirational, educational, or a combination of these. In order to keep my reviews consistent, I follow the same 5, sometimes 6-step process. Today I am reviewing for you My Heart by Corinna Luyken. The copyright of this text is 2019. Corinna is both the author and the illustrator of this text. This is a story about love and self-acceptance. While the text in this story is minimal, the illustrations are telling us a great deal. This is another one of those texts where the dust jacket differs from the cover of the text. And as I've mentioned in previous reviews, I do really appreciate it when an author does this. It adds an element of interest and results in me spending a little bit of extra time really looking through the text. On the pages of this story, there are a total of 3 colors. We see varying shades of black and gray, which I really am considering the same color, and we see white and yellow. And that is all. But the illustrations that Corinna was able to create are astounding with that simple palette of colors. The language within this text, as I mentioned, is minimal and it is easy to interpret on a surface level, and of course you could guide those that you're reading it to absorb this text in a deeper way. Corinna sets the stage for the story by comparing the heart to a window. This reference continues a few pages into the text where we are referring to the heart and mentioning that it can be closed or opened up wide. So we have this concept of a heart being similar to a window, and we can sort of be open to love and our feelings, or we can be closed off from those things. On future pages of this text, the heart is being described as being tiny, but that it can grow. And we see images like this one, where the tiny little heart that was in the crack here on this first page has grown into a large tree, and we learn that the yellow is symbolizing that love growing and spreading. This was a very powerful page as I was reading through the text. Here, Corinna describes the heart as a fence standing between the character and the world, and that is such a great way to visualize feeling like your heart is closed. And I think this could be a really beneficial way for younger children who are still learning how to describe their emotions and process them to describe what they are feeling. If they're envisioning a fence, that's a very simple concept to interpret, and so they could then compare that simple concept to something that's harder for them to explain, their heart and their feelings, and with that simple concept, they could then have more accurate language to use to convey their own feelings to others. Another comparison occurs in this story. The heart is being compared to this vase that we see in the illustration, and it is broken, but we are reminded that broken can be mended. And we see the vase again, and it is now in a whole form. And that's a really powerful message for children, reminding them that even if you're feeling quite sad or your heart is feeling broken, that it can mend and you can feel happiness again. For children, their feelings are all-encompassing. If they're having big emotions and feelings, that is consuming to them. They don't see much else beyond those feelings, and so a reminder through a very gentle text like this could be helpful to many children. I think reading this is a proactive way to help children when they eventually go through those emotions, because likely you're going to read this story at a time when they're in a stable emotional state, and then by reading it at that time they're able to digest the story and hopefully keep these ideas in their mind when they do have those big emotions and they're feeling stuck on how to process them and describe them to others. On the last 2 pages we're presented with this additional message where our hearts can be closed or open, and it is up to us to decide. That is a very powerful message as well. Children expressing love and accepting love is a hot topic these days, and for good reason. And I think that it is extremely powerful for a text like this to remind us that our hearts are ours to choose whether they are open or closed, and that is our decision to make. So that is an extremely powerful message for children to remember that they get to choose their feelings and whether their heart is open to an idea about, or a person or a situation, or whether it is closed to those things. So overall, I feel like this text has several important and very meaningful messages embedded within it. I really enjoy how much we are able to delve into the illustrations if we take the time to do so, and how much more story is really hidden in there. While simple on the surface, I think this text is much more meaningful than initially meets the eye. I feel like this story is an example of words being chosen very carefully and intentionally by the author. Additionally, since the author is also the illustrator, I think that she did an excellent job at very intentionally and purposefully creating the images that she did that are within this story. If you choose to give this text an opportunity, I encourage you to give it a good amount of your time. Go beyond the surface level words and images that you see there and delve into the big messages that are within this text. I appreciate the powerful messages that Corinna has embedded in her story and the tactful way that she has done this, and my rating for this story is a 10 out of 10. This is another text that I do not have any constructive criticism for. I do not feel that there are any changes that would make this text any more wonderful than it already is. This is a quick read that packs several powerful messages into one little book. Thank you so much for joining me today as I reviewed this text, My Heart by Corinna Luyken. As always, I am open to any feedback you may have about my review process. I love to hear from you so that I can know what things I am doing that you appreciate already, and if there are any things that you feel I could add to make this review process even more beneficial. I have always been a picture book connoisseur, and being able to share these with you brings me great joy, and I feel fulfilled because as I am sharing these with you, I am also taking the time to read them with my own children, and so the impact here is double-fold. I get to share these stories with my own children, I get to create a review for you, and I get to spend some time enjoying one of the forms of text that I appreciate the most. Thank you so much for joining me today for this review. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!